that we've really enjoyed getting to know, and we want to know a lot more. Khaled Abdallah, and we are just really excited to talk Raiders. It's always a passionate subject with so many people, and I think that we are just we're big Raiders fans, obviously. And Khaled, thank you so much for joining us, and we really appreciate you coming on. Why don't you give a quick review of what you're up to right now, and some of your podcast and some of the other things you're doing?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me on. Really appreciate you reaching
Sure.
out. Always ready to talk Raiders at the drop of a hat. So, anyone want to reach out to me, we could talk Raiders all day, every day. So, I have a YouTube channel, the 4040 Vision Podcast or 4040 Vision Media. We're on all the major platforms. We do a lot of sports history. So, our focus really is evergreen content. So, stuff that you can watch and it's relevant today, tomorrow, a month from now, a year from now, whatever it is. And we're on all the major platforms at 4040 Vision Sports. So YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it may be. And you can follow me on Twitter at Khaled74. And you can follow our official Twitter page at 4040 Vision Pod for the latest updates. But the big thing is YouTube. So make sure you check out our YouTube page for sure.
And please like and subscribe there, because the subscriptions help us keep these channels going. So please do that. And this is how love is flowing at the Forum Celebrity Podcast. I'm a Spurs fan. He's a Chelsea fan. I totally respect the Chelsea, the blue. And my Spurs, I'm in a battle right now with Tottenham fans because I didn't like, I'm an American, so I wasn't really into the Europa Championship, but they were. So a lot of them hate me for it. But boy, I'm telling you, EPL, I got to. Khaled, I got to see the Spurs at Wembley a while
Awesome.
back, and
Okay.
at White Hart Lane, and I'm telling you, what a crazy bunch of people. And it's a weird people when you go to the English Premier League, because most of the fans are men. It's very
Yeah.
strange.
It's
It's
not
not
like
like
here. Yeah.
yeah, it's not like NFL. You got a token woman here and there, and I mean it is. And boy, is the testosterone flowing, especially after the beer. But shout out to all our EPL friends. Let's get right into it with uh, let's get right into it with the Raiders, and where so much hate is coming when they, it's just like every other team. When you win, this, kumbaya, and we're all, living as cats and dogs living as one. And then when they lose, fire everybody and every player sucks. But
Yep.
where are you at with the Raiders right now in so far for their season?
I would have felt a lot different about things if they had won last year or last week. I don't want to run hot and cold based on victories, but obviously winning kind of cures all. And if you would have told me a month ago, hey, they're going to be 2-2 going into week 5, I totally would have taken that with 2 tough East Coast trips, a tough matchup against the Chargers, and then the Bears coming to town. And I think they're kind of a middle of the pack type team. Uh, there's a lot of things that are not going the Raiders' way. And that's really the unfortunate part. So I give them like a C minus at this point, especially with a tough schedule coming up. You got Indianapolis, you're going to KC. Tennessee is maybe the cupcake game in there in the middle, but who knows? It's the NFL. So there's just so much that's going wrong, which we didn't really expect. Coming into the season, I thought the defense was going to be the big question mark and the offense was going to be rock solid. And it's turned out that the defense has been, kind of middle of the pack. They're forcing turnovers at a decent rate. They're doing all that. But the offense has just been, aside from yesterday or this past week, it's been kind of a train wreck for the first 3 weeks of the season.
I was really excited about Kuntz, and he had that one great year, and he hasn't lived. Uh, Terrell will have a good game here and there, but he has not lived up to his pick. And I think that's the problem with the Raiders, is that, and you're in the salary cap era, if you don't pick well, you're screwed. And the ridiculousness of the Cleveland Browns picking all those quarterbacks and then signing quarterbacks. I mean, that literally shows you we have no evaluation skills. We're just going to get a bunch of people and see what happens. But the one thing I predicted the Raiders to be a 6 or 7 win team this year. Got blasted a little bit for it, but they're in a tough division. And Geno Smith is an average quarterback. I know he'll have, a third of the season he'll have a great game. A third of this season he will absolutely stink, and then a third of this season he'll be okay. He's an average quarterback. I thought he'd be a little bit more steady. I think he thinks he's better than what he is,
It's a
and
good
he's
point.
very confident, but I don't think he is. I think Genty will be a good back. I don't think he's going to be a great back, but I think he's going to be very solid. The problem that I have is what's going on with, and I want your take on it. What's going on with the offensive line, especially when Jackson Powers can't even play? Why can't you move it back to the same positions you did the Raiders had
Yeah.
last year? They had some success in it. What's your take on all that?
There's just been that was a position or a position group that I thought the Raiders would be pretty solid at. Looking at it on paper, I thought it was going to be maybe not the strength of the team, but at least not something you have to worry about. I thought Jackson Powers Johnson last year, he looked like a star in the making. Dylan Parham looked like a better player. DJ Glaze looked like an improved player throughout the season. So on paper, you're like, okay, this group is rounding out to be pretty solid. And then all of a sudden, you have a shuffle in the interior offensive line. Jackson Powers Johnson misses a game, and now Colton Miller is going on IR. I don't think it's for the season, so we'll see. But there's just been so much of a shuffle, and you're seeing people calling out, tells with the offensive line. You're people calling out coaching, and they're just getting absolutely blasted on short yardage. So the issue is that the team doesn't have the right consistency on those positions because you're seeing that shuffle, especially along the interior. And I think people are right to criticize. I believe his name is Brennan Carroll, the offensive line coach, who's Pete Carroll's son, because there are teams that have veteran offensive line coaches that are able to paper over these cracks. And it's also a position where I think the Raiders are in the bottom 5 in investment in the offensive line. And this is a team that has plenty of salary cap room. So you're wondering, why didn't you go spend big? If you're not going to go out and spend big on offensive free agents or skill players, go get me some big boys on the offensive line. And maybe the front office was just as deluded as I am in thinking that the unit was going to be good as is. But I feel like there was an investment. There's a real opportunity that could have been made, or the real opportunity that was lost, an investment that could have been made in this position group that was not. And I think we're seeing that come to fruition right now.
Some people have brought up the fact that the history of Pete Carroll, he has never valued offensive line, and I never thought about that. But I look back, he loves the running backs, loves the power running backs, he loves DLs, loves the defensive linemen and the linebackers. But it is true, he's never really been a guy. Someone said he has never had a top 10 offensive line. I don't know if that's true. I didn't check it out. But more and more podcasters have been bringing up the fact that he has never, even when he was at USC, you have someone like Riley at USC now where he thinks it's offense, it's flag football. You don't really play defense. I mean, that's why USC always seems to struggle, and he struggled at Oklahoma against the best teams because defense wasn't his thing. But I think Pete Carroll, they've got to get some sort of person in there that's a player personnel person that will, because to me, you got to have a great offensive line. I am
Yeah.
an offensive line, defensive line guy. Now, if you've got John Elway in the first pick, you don't go, God, I'll get the best offensive line. No, I think the drafts. I think the problem with the Raiders, my philosophy in the drafts, and we used to draft for the Raiders. I did for all through the 90s and 2000s. We had a great draft party. We don't have it anymore. Life happens, but we used to have, and the bad drafts they had just blew me away. I go for the best player possible available, but if you're a bad team, and unless it's a life-changing player, I trade down. If you're a good team and you need 1 or 2 holes filled, then I don't. But
Yeah.
I think the Raiders, Al Davis was always a guy that didn't really like to trade down. And I think the problem that I have is I've never really liked the Raiders drafts. And I think that's the problem, is that for years, look at their quarterbacks. Since 84, You take out Rich Gannon, all of their quarterbacks are either bad or average. They've never had a great quarterback after 1984. Reagan was president there. The last time the Raiders won the Super Bowl, Thriller just came out. So that's a long time ago. You may not even have been around.
I was
so,
not. No, I'm
so
a late '80s baby. Yeah.
yeah. So this is what I'm saying. It just bothers me. Now, for you young fans, this is how awesome the Raiders were in the 60s to the 80s. Almost a 30-year span. They were the number 1 or 2 watch team in the NFL every year. It was them and the Cowboys. They were the teams. They were always on. The Raiders had the highest winning percentage of any pro sports team in the United States. That's
I
how
remember that.
popular.
Yeah.
And they were and their merch always sold out. They always led the league in penalties because they were always intimidating teams. The rules have changed. Can't do that anymore. But it was just a swagger. I remember as a kid walking through malls being booed. I got booed in Cincinnati. I was a kid, and I
I
got booed
believe
in
it. Yeah.
Denver with my Raider gear. That's how much the Raiders meant to the NFL. Now it's a shell, and it breaks my heart to what's happened to the Raiders. But I think the thing that we've got to do is people got to take a deep breath and realize, and the ownership does too, rebuild. Really rebuild. Stop
Yeah.
acting like next year you're going to the playoffs. And that's the problem I really have. If you were GM, what would you do to fix the Raiders? And it's not one move. It's a lot. It's a lot
Yeah.
of things. But what would be the main things that you would do? What would you concentrate? What kind of team would you want? Things like that.
We could be here all day talking about that, but
I know.
you really hit on it, right? It is the real rebuild, right? So I'm going to disagree with you slightly on the great quarterback thing. I think Derek Carr had the
Oof.
potential to be a great quarterback. He was on the cusp, never got the right opportunities, but we don't need to go down that road. But
No.
I think the issue is since letting Carr go, the team hasn't decided, like really committed to the rebuild. And we see teams fall into this trap all the time where they think they can pick up this retread coach, this retread quarterback. You know, we've seen Indianapolis do it multiple times, a ton of teams all over the league, not Cincinnati, Carolina, New Orleans right now, all kinds of teams. And it's like, what you really need to do is be honest with yourself about the team that you have and say, okay, we need to kind of tear this down to the studs, start over. Let's go get a quarterback, a high pick in the draft, pay what we need to pay to get that top pick in the draft, or, make the right moves, wink, wink, and tank to get that right pick in the draft. And in the meantime, develop that offensive line and draft those offensive linemen high. So that was one of the things that I thought John Spytek was going to do coming from Tampa, where they have a great offensive line. They've spent high picks on Graham Barton and Tristan Wirfs, who are both great players. And that's where you want to invest your top picks and your talent. I mean, I know you can find offensive linemen late in the draft, but the top guys around the league, those are day 1 picks or day 2 picks. So enough of this retread quarterback stuff. Don't give me Gardner Minshew. Don't give me Geno Smith next year. Let's tear this down. And I think they have the option to do that. I think Geno's dead cap is only like 17 or 18 million next year. And if he keeps playing like this, he might not last the season anyway. So let's really tear this down. You have some blue chippers. I do think Ashton Genty is going to be a great player. He reminds me of LaDainian Tomlinson. I think Maxx Crosby is a future Hall of Famer if he keeps going on this path. Brock Bowers, same idea. I know it's only his second year, but he's on that path. So you have those blue chip pieces, but everything around it, it's okay. Give me 2 years of a real rebuild, and let's go out and get that quarterback early in the draft and protect that young quarterback.
Now, I heard a podcaster the other day. He tends to be a little bit of a homer, nice guy, but he said, no, we can't because the Raider fans won't go to games or what. The Raider fans aren't going to games now. They're selling
they're not going
their
anyway.
tickets. Have you seen it? The Raiders, the sports books, for the first time in history, won't even give them points for being the home team. I mean, it's comical. It's embarrassing. But it's happening all over. Wait till Buffalo gets this. Wait till Buffalo prices. Oh my God, they're gonna have to sell children. I mean, it is just so freaking expensive, and this is what I hate about the NFL. I love the game, but they're so greedy, and it's never enough money. I saw a receipt, and I should give it to you, uh, Khalid, because it was in the ultra luxury boxes. An extra large pizza was $300,
This was in
and
Allegiant Stadium,
yes, and I
Vegas,
couldn't.
Vegas,
Yeah,
baby.
yeah, and chicken strips. A big order of chicken strips was $125. Then you had to pay something like
My
a
God.
$75 administration fee. It was like $1,000 bill for food and beer and stuff, and I'm like, holy Lord! I mean, they are making hand over fist. I've
And
heard
people
of
will go. That's the
and
thing.
people,
Even if,
and that's the problem.
well, it's like even if the Raiders aren't good, you're in Vegas. You're in a tourist destination. I know Vegas is in a bit of a downturn when it comes to tourism, but
Yeah.
people of fans of other teams are going to come out. So if you're going to take like a cynical, real cold approach, if you're Raiders ownership, you're going to think, okay, we can still suck for 2 years, and people will still show up. They won't. We
Yes.
might not be wearing black, but they'll be wearing red or blue or orange or whatever it is. But they'll fill the seats and they'll buy tickets and buy beer and $100 chicken strips and all that. So the Raiders have already not been great. They've not been a great product for since the past 3 years in Vegas after the playoff run. So let's really lean into the suck and just embrace it for a little bit and come out on the other side with hopefully a franchise quarterback and some other blue chip pieces around him.
It's like the Saints. Saints fans are losing their mind. God, we suck. But you guys wanted a rebuild for 2 years. But you want no rebuild. You want it the next year. They're great, and they're not. They're
Exactly.
going to suck for a year or two. And I'm with you. And that's the point I was trying to say is if I was the Raiders and Mark Davis, let's be honest, Mark Davis is in over his head. He got it. He's a nepo baby, so he got this given to him. So, but he is smart enough. He's starting to get more and more football people around him. But I would just say we're going to suck for 2 years. We're going to survive. I'm going to be hated by the fans, but hopefully in 2 to 3 years we'll have a solid team. Because I'm sorry, they have 14 teams make the playoffs. That's almost half of them. It's not even a big deal anymore.
It's not.
So
Yeah.
go do your thing, make your money, and tank. I hate know that word's not good. You don't have to tell anybody, but get those high draft picks and then come back strong. Because I think what's happening in a lot of the NFL stadiums is what's happening at Allegiant. I saw a lot of fans from in Pittsburgh from other areas, and I don't know why. God bless Pittsburgh fans, but boy, Pittsburgh's not one of my huge destinations, and the Raiders got a Las Vegas destination everyone wants to come to, like you said.
Yeah.
But you're going to
Spend the
see
weekend in
this all.
Vegas.
You're slowly seeing this all over the NFL where home fans are trying to recoup some of the money because it's so dang expensive. So they're selling their tickets, and then people are getting mad at them. Don't get mad at them. These tickets are, I mean, I saw one guy bragging he gave his kids college fund for tickets, for God's sake. It's crazy. So the only voice we have is our money. And if you give them the money, they think it as a positive. So that's
Absolutely.
just kind of 2 cents. Now, for the rest of the year, we can't draft, we can't do anything. What would you do? There's even people saying get Pickett in there, dump Geno. Geno's washed up. Get him out of there. Dump Carroll. Obviously, you're not going to get rid of coaches right now. But what would you do on the offensive line, be it wherever? What would you do right now that you think would help the team?
Yeah. So if I was Mark Davis, and I think you brought up a good point, like good credit to him. He is bringing in more of those football people. I think he is a great businessman. He's made a ton of money in this Vegas move. He's doing great things with the Aces who play just down the street. They're making hand over fist. They're money hand over fist. They're going to the WNBA finals. They have the MVP, et cetera, et cetera. He's a great businessman. When it comes to football, not so great. And I think we're realizing that he's starting to hand over the reins to Tom Brady more and more, to John Spytek and Pete Carroll. I'm not on the fire Pete Carroll train. He has a track record of success. I want to give him some time. I know he's in his mid 70s, so maybe he doesn't have a ton of time left at coaching, but with whatever time he has left in the NFL, I will. He's earned the right to have a little bit of a longer leash than say a Josh McDaniels or some of these other coaches that have come and gone. For the Raiders. So I would focus on youth. Like, let's see what these kids can do. The kids that you drafted, I want to say this past weekend, like 3 or 4 of the 2024 draft picks, 2025 draft picks were, healthy scratches. There's no point in that. I don't want to see these veteran guys that you didn't pay a lot of money to. Maybe they're on a vet min. Like, show me what these young guys can do on the offensive line and the defensive line, the defensive backfield. Let's start Darian Porter. Let's start some of these other guys that we drafted this year, and let's see what we got. Because we're staring down the barrel. We're 1-3 right now. We're staring down the barrel at 1-6 or 1-5 or 2-5 with the way the schedule has worked out. And before the season, I thought, maybe 7-8 wins, 10 at maybe if everything goes great. But in a division where all six of those games are an absolute dogfight, and you're in a tough conference, 7 wins is okay. And at this point, you're like, maybe we want to go for 4 wins or 3 wins, and let's get to the top of the draft. So let's do that, but also let's showcase these young guys and tell me what you got. Show me what you got. We drafted you for a reason. Let's give them the opportunities, and we can reevaluate at the end of the year how the draft worked out, and let's get rid of some of these fringe free agents and just play the young guys.
Do you think Maxx Crosby is eventually going to get sick of it and want to leave?
I don't think so. I think there's guys that are wired a certain way. I'm looking at Myles Garrett. I'm looking at J.J. Watt, T.J. Watt. There's just guys that they're loyal and they're incredible elite players that you need to pay. So don't quibble with Max over any money. Give him what he
Yep,
deserves.
that's right.
Like the Browns did with Myles Garrett. And I think these guys really want to build something. And I think there is a value in being a one team guy. Maybe late in his career, and when he's in his late 30s, he can go, be a mercenary like some of these other pass rushers do. But I think they learned the lesson from Khalil Mack and letting him go too early, in that you have a Hall of Fame guy. Let's keep him around. I know, maybe you have to butter him up and again, just pay him what he wants. And that's it. And I think he sees the vision. I think he's happy in Vegas. He's happy with the fans. Obviously, he's not happy with the losing. But if you show him, hey, here's our plan, here's our track record of success based on what Pete Carroll has done, based on what John Spytek has done, based on what Tom Brady has done. I know he hasn't done it as a personnel guy, but he's the GOAT for a reason. So maybe all these factors can keep Max, happy in Vegas, and let's build on him and Genty and Bowers and some of these other guys that are long-term pieces.
I think the Raiders, I love their wide receivers. I love their tight ends. I love the one thing their running backs are horrific pass blockers. And when the pass rush was getting to them with Washington and with Chicago, they started sticking these people in and are keeping these people in to block, and Genty was horrible. I mean,
just not as strength. Yeah.
Yeah, they have got to start blocking better, because if you're gonna have to start keeping tight ends, and you can't do that because you want them out in the pass, and just absolutely, it's ridiculous for what they're doing. So I think you make great points. I think the Raiders do have a foundation, but they've got it. It's time to kind of stop acting like they're going to the Super Bowl every year and realize, we got some big holes and we got to fill them. But I'm so happy you came back. We're going to have you on real soon. I know you have to go to something, and I don't want to keep you over too much, but I just want to thank you for coming. We're going to have you on real soon, and I promise that, because I really like you and I love your work, and I think you're up and coming, and keep up the great work. And thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, I really appreciate the opportunity. Let's do this next week. Let's do it tomorrow.